Ask Reddit by Emma Bowles. What's a harmless non-serious secret you've kept forever? My friend is a major Death Cab for Cutie fan. They came to our city a couple years ago, and I knew she wouldn't be able to afford the tickets to go. She was upbeat about it, but I know she was devastated by it. I bought tickets. 2 days before the show, I told her that the friend I originally planned to take couldn't go, and would she please come with me? There was no other friend. Told her I loved the band and would be sad to miss them. She of course accepted, and had the time of her life. She's doing much better now, but every couple of Christmases or birthdays, she gets me some Death Cab merchandise because she knows how much I love the band. I can't stand their music. I literally have them blocked on Spotify. But now it's gone too far where I can't tell her. The detail that you have them blocked on Spotify absolutely made this for me. Don't even want to risk hearing their music. First marriage to my late wife. On the day of the wedding, the ring got stolen out of my car. I was freaking out. My two best men went into overdrive and took a picture I had of the ring and went to I don't know how many jewelry stores explaining what had happened and if they had a ring that was similar. They went to this really great jewelry maker, so said, I have something that is really close, give me a bit and I can make it perfect. He worked his ass off and got it done with about an hour to spare, plus they managed to get my window fixed. The three of us are the only ones who know. I ended up using that jewelry maker for any jewelry I needed and well I haven't stopped yet. He ended up telling my best men to not worry about the price and for me to come down after the honeymoon to work it out. I didn't. He gave it to me at the cost of the materials. He is a great guy. He retired during COVID. That dude got referred customers all day. My mum is a health nut, with probably disordered eating, who wouldn't let us have cheese in the house when I was kid. When I was mid-20s, I bought a unit and my dad was helping me fix stuff up so I provided lunch. I said to him, bet you're going to hate going back to work next week and not have any cheese on your sandwiches. It was then he told me his deepest secret. He had been buying blocks of cheese at work for years. I had no idea he was crafty. And my mum still doesn't. Poor dad has been retired for years though, so not sure on the current cheese consumption status. I think you meant craft. Why? One day I came home late at night drunk and decided to walk my dog. Just when we arrived outside my house, my dog attacked a raccoon hanging around the area. I ended up wrestling my Malamute and freed the raccoon from his jaws. Here's the thing. I was drunk and the raccoon kinda just stared at me in front of me and I decided to try and pet the raccoon. I got maybe one pet in before it took a chunk out of my finger. I ran into the house leaving a trail of blood up to my brother's room for help. A sleepless night in the hospital and 4 consecutive rabies shots later was the result. Everyone asked me what happened and I just told them while I heroically wrestled my dog to save the raccoon I got bit in the process. They still don't know the real story. It still gets brought up 10 years later. That's hilarious. Drunk, you definitely thought this was going to be your movie moment. The raccoon would understand that you saved it and allow you to pet it in gratitude. But nope, still wild animal. I convinced my sister I had entered us both in a blog giveaway. I won a coupon but she won the grand prize, or $300 gift card to Lane Bryant. My sister was a size 16 and desperately needed new clothes but would spend money on her baby grandkids and thin adult daughters. This was the only way I could make sure she spent it on herself. It's been 10 years. She doesn't know. Edit. Thank you, kind strangers. I'm glad she doesn't know what Reddit is, or she'd definitely figure this out. You are a great sibling. That was really kind. If anyone was at the Hyatt Regency in Columbus, right before the Origins Game Fair in 2018, I have your white noise machine. You left it in the hotel room. I didn't even realize for half my stay. I was like, oh, this is actually really convenient, figuring it was just a new thing the hotel was doing. That is, until I visited my friend's room, where they didn't have one, then noticed I could unplug the one in my room, and realized it must have been left behind. I told the front desk about it, but they insisted it didn't need to be moved to lost and found. Told them to tell me if anyone called looking for it, but no one did. So, thank you, forgetful stranger. It has actually helped immensely with my sleep. My wife lost one of her favorite pair of gold earrings her parents gave her. She could not find the other after weeks of trying. It had sentimental value as it was a 16th day gift, so I knew she'd never want another set. So I took the one she had around our big city to jewelers and shops until I found a matching one. Eventually found one, bought the pair, dirtied it up at home and let her find it in her sock drawer. Still have the other hidden in my desk in case she loses the other. In 1998 I had a friend who was stuck in a very toxic situation at her home. She had an opportunity for a new start across country in Oregon. She had a Dodge Neon that was hanging on for dear life and decided to pass on the opportunity for fear the car wouldn't make the trip. I told her I had a friend that was a mechanic that owed me a favor and he would give the car a tune-up for free. I didn't really have a friend that was a mechanic. We were both 18 with not much money, but I used all of my savings to pay to have her car made roadworthy for the trip. She's a mother of 4 now with a great job and thriving in Oregon. You may have saved her life. You're a phenomenal human being. When I was dating my now wife, her son took my car for a joyride while we were out of town. When we got back from our out of town trip I noticed something was amiss on my car. When I got in it, I noticed the sunshade was installed backwards. I would never do that on accident. I then pulled the dashcam footage. He took it around the neighborhood. He didn't do any donuts or burn any tires. Just a nice slow stroll through the neighborhood with the music playing and I assume waved and some people. I ended up just handling it man to man. He was like 17-18 at the time. I never told his mom about it. This deserves more praise. Honestly, he will probably remember that conversation the rest of his life. My dad is a doctor. When my daughter was little she was terrified of hurting her ankle. Like in a time she got the slightest twinge or rolled it slightly, she was convinced it was broken. My dad would take her to the office and run a fetal heart Doppler over her little ankle and tell her it was an X-ray machine and her ankle was fine. She's 13 and still convinced that Papa took actual X-rays of her ankle. I'm never going to tell her otherwise. My dad had a portable radio with wires attached to Velcro, which he told us was a lie detector. He would tune to static and raise and lower the volume when one of us was lying. He eventually got a confession out of the one he already suspected. When my brother was 4 he won a stuffed animal from a claw machine and it was his favorite thing ever. Slept with it every night for weeks. He fell asleep on the couch and was carried to bed but left his stuffed animal on the floor and the dog decided to tear it to pieces during the night. I spent $40 trying to win another one and put it under his bed for him to find. Wow, didn't think this would blow up so much. Thank you for the awards and kind words. I'll do my best to pay them forward. After reading this kind of story in different iterations for years, I think the key for parents is to get like 5 of a favorite toy and secretly rotate them like they do for panda parents. That way all of them get equally loved, worn down, and a replacement for a lost one doesn't look new. I can't remember why, but I was mad at my dad for something. As revenge I added extra chili powder and hot sauce to our family chili. Turns out my family never really added enough seasoning to the chili as it was, and the food actually tasted a lot better as a result of my revenge tactic. I've overcorrected as an adult on seasoning food at times, but I do make a mean chili. Deleted. Several years ago I was in a new relationship. In my grogginess in the morning while still in bed, I forgot my boyfriend had slept over the night before and I just let one rip super loud. Instantly, he is awake. The bed creaks and I remember he is there and am somewhat mortified until he nearly immediately tells my dog, also in the bed, that he will take him outside to poo as I pretend to still be asleep. He takes him outside and later when I am awake, he tells me about my dog's crazy fart. I let my pup take the fall. He knew. Deleted. Damn, I used to work at SiriusXM. I wonder who in the promotions department completely fucked this up. A few times, if they were holding contests where you had to be the nth caller, I'd be the one answering the phone, and I was always so super stoked whenever I got to the winning caller and gave the news that they won. Best feeling in the world. The person was always completely speechless and blown away that they actually won. I'd hate to know that maybe sometimes these people never actually got what they won. Every Thanksgiving in San Luis Obispo my best friend and I are in charge of pies. We go to the Madonna Inn, a gloriously outlandish hotel restaurant bakery resort, and ask for 2 of their pie boxes. We then go to Safeway and buy 2 much cheaper pies and put them in the boxes. We bring them to our large family gathering and everyone compliments the wonderful pies because of how amazing the Madonna Inn's reputation is for baked desserts. I'd like to say this is because of concerns about cost or because the Safeway pies are better, but the truth is my BF and I have been doing this for about a decade now and it's just become one of our favorite traditions together. Do they just give you the pie boxes or do you need to pay for them? When I had just got my license, I was kind of an idiot, as are most 16-year-old boys. It was snowing and I thought I would try to drift my car into a McDonald's parking lot from the road. I failed, obviously, and went down an embankment into another parking lot. Thankfully my car was mostly okay. I had to replace a quarter panel and a headlight, but nothing too serious. I told my parents I was avoiding a head-on collision and hit black ice. I have never told them the truth even though it has been 20 years since that incident. I could tell them and they wouldn't care really, but I just haven't and probably never will. This is the first time I have ever told anyone the truth about that day. This is why teenage boys' insurance rates are so high lol. Every Christmas I would write a fake Christmas newsletter, like those letters some people send every year with updates about their life, family, etc., and send it to my parents. I made up this guy who was a huge blowhard, but believable enough that my dad thought maybe he had worked with him at some point in the past. I had a spreadsheet to keep track of his job, wife, children, grandchildren, holidays, etc. so that I could stay accurate from year to year. My parents would get so annoyed at his arrogant writing style but I was really proud of it lol. It went on for 6 or 7 years but then his twin granddaughters graduated high school and I stopped. This is so damn funny. I am remembering this to fuck with people, it's so good. Only my immediate family know I threw a birthday party when I was 13 and no one came. I remember sitting at the window crying, looking out for any cars to come. I never told anyone else about this, because I didn't want to seem like a massive loser, still don't. Even the kids who didn't turn up, I told them my neighbors and friends from extracurricular came, so even they don't know. I once turned down a birthday party and cater found out no one came. This was 40 plus years ago and I still feel bad. Sorry Rog. As a previous nanny, I've seen many first steps and heard many first words, but I never share that. When I leave I say something like, I think little one is so close to walking talking. It's a special moment parents deserve. Who am I to take that from them? One baby was walking with me for a full 2 weeks before he showed his new trick to his parents. We did that at the daycare I worked at lol. I remember specifically one time this kid had been walking all day. His mom came in to pick him up and my grandmother who ran the place sat him down really fast so she wouldn't see. When his mom rounded the corner he stood up and walked to her and the look on her face was priceless. She was so excited. When Elle was 10 and my younger brother was 5, Elle pranked him and scared him so badly he shit his pants. He cried and Elle felt so bad that Elle cleaned him, his pants, and the place in the hallway he shit. I never told anyone, at 10 years old, that shit would have been hilarious to friends and family. I was 7 and we were moving from one farm to a bigger one. Mom was taking garbage out to the burn barrel and burning it. In the rural 80s we just burned everything. I started looking at the fire when she went back inside and discovered a burning ice cream lid. I picked it up and threw it like a frisbee and it did an ice arc and landed right at a large stack of hay that was quite a ways away. I was horrified and went running in and told Mom some paper had floated up and onto the hay. Other than the huge stack of hay burning down, there was no harm done. It was old hay anyway, that's why it wasn't stored in the barn. I bet you were terrified. I once told a girl I was dating I loved the dish she cooked for me. In reality, it was terrible. 25 years later, my wife is still cooking it at least once a month because it's my favorite. I've never been able to tell her, but now I've let my 8-year-old daughter in on it. She'll prance up to my wife and say, "Let's cook daddy's favorite tonight." Then she turns around and looks me dead in the eye with a shit-eating grin on her face. Well, what's the dish? And why is it bad? We need to know. I farted in a physics tutoring class consisting of 6-10 people including the tutor. A friend started yelling about the air conditioner having a bad smell. He suspected a bird or a mouse died there. Finally we all had to move to continue the class in another room. Until this day, no one in this group knows that I farted. In 4th grade I farted so loudly it actually stopped my teacher mid-lesson. We sat at desks that seated 2 kids and those were clustered in small groups around the room. Well, that day the boy next to me had been having issues, and when it got really quiet after my fart, he was like, "That was probably me. I've been farting all day." I couldn't believe he took credit. I made eye contact with another girl who sat near me and told her, "Sorry, Andrew. Hope you feel like a boss for stopping a lesson with a fart you didn't let out though." My best friend in high school worked hard after school and on weekends in a butcher shop to earn money. He had healthy savings balance and really wanted an Xbox so we could play Halo, but his parents wouldn't let him buy one even though he'd earned more than enough on his own. I knew HTML, so I made a fake website for an Australian gaming magazine advertising a competition to win an Xbox. He entered the competition and won it. We faked the email telling him he'd won. We bought an Xbox from the local store and went straight to the local post office and faked the sender's address on the label. 2 days later, it turned up at his home. He showed his parents the website, the email and the postage and they believed him. We spent the rest of the summer hanging out playing Halo. So good. When I first met my wife's 93-year-old grandma about 13 years ago, she had me try her holiday dish, congealed salad. It's basically lime jello made with condensed milk, and it has pineapple, walnuts, marshmallows and celery mixed in, and it is poured into a bundt cake pan to set. It's a terrible, old-timey southern dish. She was so excited to let me try it that I panicked and said it was amazing. She absolutely lit up, and every year since then, she has exponentially increased the amount she makes because she knows how much I love it. The bundt cake pan has long since been replaced with a literal punched bowl. The rest of the family knows I hate it, and it's just silently accepted that I will eat huge amounts of it each year instead of telling her the truth. Honestly, I think removing the celery would greatly improve this, so maybe tell her you can't have celery anymore. But then you'd have to deal with not eating celery, not a bad thing in my opinion. In 2009 my best friend was struggling to pay rent when his TV broke. So I went and bought him an at the time 42-inch HD TV for over $1,000. I knew he would never accept me spending that much as a gift. So I took it out of the box and put a few small scratches on the back of it and told him I bought a new TV and that he could have my old one that I didn't use anymore. Well, he's doing way better now financially, but he has no idea I did that and I will never tell him. Not just the gift of a TV, but the gift of understanding and grace, giving in a way that no burden of guilt or expectation is also put on the friend. This is really sweet. Deleted. I'm picturing some real Mission Impossible shit lol. When I was about 15 or 16 I had a sleepover with about 10 of my friends and my sister. I decided to have some fun with them, and pretended to sleep talk. They recorded it on a cassette tape, and I figured it would just be a fun harmless prank. Well, nearly 30 years later, they still keep bringing it up. They still don't know that I was faking, and I don't know how to tell them at this point because so much time has passed. That tape is still floating around. I hate it when they bring it up, and they think it's because I'm embarrassed about sleep talking, but the reality is it was just a stupid prank I played when I was a teenager, and I just never in a million years thought that it would still be going 3 decades later. I want this to just fucking die already, lol. Nobody knows my secret except for you, random strangers on Reddit. After all this time, if you do tell them you faked it, they won't believe you. I ate the crumble off the top of my mom's apple crisp and blamed it on the cat. Years after the cat passed, my parents tell the story of how she ate the crumble as a cute anecdote. I have a cat who has eaten the glaze off a vanilla bean scone, so I would 100% believe the apple crisp was eaten by my cat if I was told that. When my friend moved into her first apartment, she didn't have any tools for basic repairs. I spent a few hundred on a tool bag, socket set, screwdrivers, cordless drill, wrenches, level, etc. Took everything out of the packaging and gave her the bag of tools. I told her they were my extras and showed her how to do some of her repairs. She still doesn't know everything was brand new and, frankly, nicer than my own tool set. I bought a decommissioned fire chief's vehicle from the Richmond Fire Department auction and got them to donate it to my grandmother. She never would have accepted it if it came from a family member. I know you mean like a fire officer's car, but the idea of your grandmother walking outside to her own fire engine is giving me so much joy right now. Dad, I lied that day in kindergarten when I said I had a tummy ache and needed to go home. I was totally fine. I was just super bored and wanted to spend time with you. My father was a doctor and a generally careful and organized person. When he passed away, I found among his papers a file that contained all the charts of my childhood illnesses, temperature graphs, timed updates including the ones where I was clearly faking it to get out of school. Complaints of stomach pains, physical exam reveals no obvious cause, temp 97.1. Remained at home for observation. My mom dad people in our community kept spotting me driving to this back parking lot at a local government complex. They asked me what I was doing, and told them it was a great place to stargaze because it was kind of off the main road. Even 20 years later I still get comments if I'm going to go stargazing. No, that was my makeout sex spot in high school. I think they know. Stargazing? Did you even try to hide it? Haha. Every woman knows what stargazing means. I intentionally bombed a math competition in middle school because I didn't like the teacher over the program or being forced to do it by my parents. I blamed it on nerves and was not asked back. I once paid my mom's phone bill when I knew she was low on money. I got on her account on her phone while she was doing other things and I know her password, so it was pretty easy. Added my card as a one-time payment only so it wouldn't save to her account and paid. She figured she just forgot she paid it and that's why she thought she was low on money. My mom is ADHD and so am I, so forgetting stuff is very common. I was playing checkers when someone taught me what stealing was. Board games at daycare had missing pieces sometimes, so I asked where some went. My friend told me they were probably stolen. At any rate, I learned what stealing was and I took one checker. I kept it in my pocket until I got home and put it in my little kid safe my grandma bought me. Then the next day I took it out and brought it back because I was so scared I would get into trouble for stealing. I haven't told anyone. Man. My secret story is not as heartwarming as the others on here, but I feel like writing it out anyhow. My little sister loved dragons and collected little inexpensive statues and toys. I was 15 years old and had my first job working at Friendly's. I saved up my money to buy her something way out of my price range for her birthday. It was this tiny statue, over $100. A fortune for a teen, because it was adorable and perfect, a dragon just coming out of an egg. I was so excited to give it to her. My mom, who honestly has a novel's worth of issues, had no money and hadn't planned. 2 nights before my little sister's birthday she told me she hasn't gotten her anything at all, so I gave it to my mom to give to her. It made me sad not to have much of a present for my sister. I gave her a card and some candy, but I knew her heart would break if mom gave her nothing 30 years later and I still haven't told. That is extremely heartwarming. When I was 20 I moved into a flat with 2 30-year-olds that were really selfish. They were charging double price for the 4th room. Now that I think of it, I was probably charged more than they were paying to in the house, so they both could pay less for their own rooms. I wanted to have a friend there to feel less alone, and my guy mate was first year apprentice on low wages. I told him it was way cheaper and he moved in. I told the 30-year-olds I would pay half his room if they let me have a friend move in. So yeah, he got subsidized rent because I needed a companion after a bad breakup. I ended up dating his best friend and us 3 moved out into a better place without the 2 people who just wanted flatmates to make money off, and I married his best friend and he is now a qualified electrician making shitloads of cash, so we all win. My younger sister and I would sneak a Christmas present from under the tree, surgically remove the tape, carefully unwrap the gift to see what it is and then wrap it back exactly how it was, put it back under the tree exactly how it was. My son told me he did this for several days before Christmas. It was the year we got him a programmable calculator he had been wanting and he was pretty sure he was getting it. He sneaked down, unwrapped it, and wrote and debugged programs on it. Then wrapped it back up and went back to sleep. Each night. And we never wondered why it had so many working programs on it Christmas morning. He admitted to this years later as an adult. A good laugh. Every the 23rd of December I leave an envelope with a few $100s on the windshield of the most beat up car I can find in the Walmart parking lot and drive away. Never told a soul until right now. At university, my best friend and I went to the bathroom on a night out, and as we were using the urinals he explained how Greg, a slightly older guy at the same school, was such an asshole. I pointed to a cubicle and mouthed how Greg was inside. My friend went bright red and eyed inside, and permanently avoided Greg for the rest of our time there. Just the other day, about 5 years later, it came up and I had totally forgotten. I finally told him I'd made it up. Oh hi, Satan. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised that way, I did not join by choice lol, and when we went door to door I used to pretend to press the doorbell so I didn't have to actually bother anyone and talk to them. You were doing God's work. I always knew my first boyfriend is gay, and still I agreed to be his GF at the time. He never told me that during the time we were together, and I've never initiated the conversation. We're from very conservative country, so I understand he was just super scared to come out, or even acknowledge he's gay. We have never done anything sexual, but we could spend a lot of time together as friends and it was awesome. We were 14-15 at the time. He came out to me a few years later and I never said anything. Many people tried to make me a victim on the way, but I'll protect this guy to the day I die. We love each other. He's my family even though we don't talk as much anymore. I live in another country. Totally pure and awesome man. I'll always support him. Your kindness protected him when he most needed it. I pretend to like every video game my nephew loves. He is so sweet and he always asks me if I like X video games so I can play with him, and I always pretend I do so that we can play together. I don't give a fig about video games, but I love spending time with him. And also, it's fun to pretend to be a kid and get excited about games. But it's spending time with him that really makes me happy. I bought a surprise plane ticket to see my long distance girlfriend after 1 year apart. She told me there was somebody else some days before the flight. This makes me sad. I love telling people I placed first in a national competition for Shotokan karate. So naturally people assume I'm a really good fighter. I placed first in kata. I'm just really good at choreography. I sometimes tell people I got 4th place in a robotics competition. They only named 3 winners. There was no 4th place. But that technically makes me and every other non-winner 4th place. My best friend streamed on Twitch for 1 year, and I was all of her viewers. She regularly streamed to one viewer, me, so I made multiple accounts and pretended to be a stranger who would talk to us during stream. I gave them different personalities, different ways of speech, different backgrounds. I would even create Discord chats to make them seem believable. Eventually she gained a following and I didn't need to anymore, and later she stopped streaming altogether. She still doesn't know. This is wholesome as fuck and you seem like a great friend. I had my niece remind my sister that it was our mom's 70th birthday, no party because it was the height of the COVID pandemic, after my mom lamented that my siblings hadn't said happy birthday. I still haven't told my mom. At our 6th grade Halloween party I found my crush's favorite watch in the garbage bin with a broken band. Took it out, fixed it, gave it back to her. When her friend pestered me why would you fix that for her, I lied and said someone else told me to, not wanting to be found out for having feelings for her. As a kid I constantly got in trouble for putting things in my mouth. One day when I was about 6 I accidentally swallowed a couple of coins. Even through the massive episode of violent vomiting and subsequent hospital visit, I never confessed to swallowing the coin because I didn't want to get in trouble.